The casket is small, far too small for a boy with dreams as big as my Caleb's. That thought repeats in my mind as I stand at the edge of the grave, my black dress clinging to my trembling frame. My hands will not stop shaking. I press them into the fabric, grip them together until my knuckles whiten, even shove them into my pockets, but nothing steadies them. The tears come freely, silent rivers I no longer try to hide. Each mechanical whir of the pulley lowering his casket twists my stomach tighter, my knees threatening to buckle. 8 months ago, doctors gave us a name for the shadow stealing my son's strength. Caleb, my 9-year-old warrior, faced it with a courage I could hardly comprehend. Needles, transfusions, nights filled with fever. He endured it all with superhero pajamas and a steady smile. "I'm okay, Mom, don't worry," he would whisper, even when his body shook under hospital blankets. His resilience humbled me every day, and now I stand here alone. My parents are not beside me, neither is my sister Victoria, who once promised she would always be there. Not even Melissa, my best friend since childhood, has come. Instead, their absence weighs as heavily as the casket before me. Out of reflex, I pull out my phone, only to regret it instantly. Victoria's social media feed floods the screen, glittering photos of her engagement party at the Grand Horizon Hotel. My parents beam beside her, champagne glasses raised high, the timestamp 20 minutes ago. While I listen to the minister's words, they toasted her new beginning. My throat closes. The betrayal slices through me sharper than the grief itself. "How could they? Are you all right, dear?" Angela's voice interrupts my spiral. My elderly neighbor, who has been my steady rock these past months, stands at my side. Her weathered hand rests gently on my arm, her eyes soft with genuine concern. For over a year, she brought homemade meals when I was too exhausted to cook. She watched Caleb so I could rest. She never once made me feel like his illness was a burden. In this moment, her presence matters more than any absent family member. "They didn't come," I whisper, barely audible. My voice cracks under the weight of the truth. Angela squeezes my arm. "That boy loved you more than anything in this world," she says. I nod, remembering Caleb's laugh, his bold declarations that he would one day become a doctor to fix kids like me. I remember Ethan, my ex-husband, setting up a trust for Caleb's future before moving overseas. "If anything ever happens," he told me, "you're the beneficiary. I know you'll honor his memory." As if on cue, my phone buzzes with a message from my mother. "Bring the trust documents tomorrow." I stare at the words, disbelief hardening into something new. They hadn't come for Caleb, but they want his trust fund. I kneel, placing Caleb's favorite action figure atop his casket. My voice is a whisper, steady despite the storm in my chest. "I'll protect what's yours, my love, I promise." Through the fog of grief, a spark of resolve ignites. Whatever comes next, I will not let them take his legacy from me. The morning after the funeral, the world feels gray and heavy, as if the sky itself is still mourning. I drive through Oakwood Heights with my hands gripping the steering wheel too tightly, my knuckles white against the leather. Each mile toward my parents' colonial-style home tightens the knot in my chest. I shouldn't have come so soon, not when my heart is still raw and my body still aches from yesterday's farewell. But my mother's message left me no choice. Bring the trust documents tomorrow. Their front porch is polished, immaculate, as if nothing tragic has touched it. Melissa's silver BMW is parked in the driveway. My heart sinks lower. She hadn't come to the funeral, but she's here now for this. The door opens before I can knock. My father stands there, his face arranged into the kind of carefully measured concern he once wore in boardrooms. "Destiny, come in, we've been waiting." Inside, the living room doesn't feel like home. It feels like a negotiation table. Victoria sits on the cream sofa, legs crossed neatly, her hair styled without a strand out of place. Melissa perches beside her, pretending to study her manicure. My mother hovers by the mantel, one hand resting on a framed family photo. Our smiles frozen, a performance of togetherness. No one mentions Caleb. Not one word. My father clears his throat and gestures to the mahogany coffee table, where papers lie in perfect stacks. "We need to reallocate the trust with Victoria as trustee," he says briskly, sliding a document toward me. "Sign here and here." I stare at the papers without touching them. What are you talking about? Victoria leans forward, her voice calm but dripping with superiority. Destiny, you're in no condition to manage this money. We're just trying to help. My mother adds her soft, patronizing tone. You've always been impulsive, dear. Remember when you wanted to open that boutique after college? Thank goodness your father talked you out of it. This isn't about you. It's about what's best for everyone. Everyone. Everyone but Caleb, apparently. I glance at Melissa, searching for some spark of the friend who once held my hand through heartbreak. She avoids my eyes, her silence louder than words. My father taps another page. We've already spoken with Ethan's lawyer. He agrees this is the prudent course. The words crash into me like cold water. You've been planning this. I whisper. A document catches my eye. Legal research dated over a year ago. 14 months back, when Caleb first fell ill. My stomach twists. They were preparing for this even as I sat by his hospital bed, praying for him to get better. You never even visited him. I say, my voice sharpening with clarity. Not once in 8 months. Victoria sighs, tossing her hair. We all grieve differently. Destiny. Some of us just handle it better. Their cruelty is casual, as if my pain is an inconvenience. I see them now for what they are, not the safety net I once clung to, but people willing to sacrifice me to preserve their comfort. I rise slowly, pushing the papers back toward them. I'm not signing anything. The room chills. My father's voice hardens. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. But I've made up my mind. Without another word, I turn and walk out, closing the door behind me with quiet finality. In the silence of my car, I let out a shaky breath. They may have plotted in secret, but I have something stronger than their schemes, truth and the memory of my son, and I will fight for both. That night, I barely sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see Caleb's smile, brave, steady, full of hope. Then I see my family's faces across that polished coffee table, cold and calculating, as though his trust fund mattered more than his life. By morning, exhaustion clings to me, but so does something new, determination. My phone rings as I sip coffee from a chipped mug. The caller ID makes my throat tighten. Ethan's parents. I almost don't answer, but I do. Destiny, Martha says softly. Her voice is warm, heavy with emotion. We just heard about the funeral. We're so sorry we weren't there. We were overseas and didn't know until it was too late. George's voice breaks through, steadier but full of grief. We loved that boy more than anything. Caleb was the best of us. Their sorrow feels real, not polished or performative. Tears spill down my cheeks, not from pain this time, but from relief. Someone else loved him the way I did. Someone else remembered him, not his trust. Then I remember something Ethan once told me. If you ever need help with the trust, call Richard Donovan. He's the best attorney I know. I find the number in my contacts and dial before fear can stop me. Hours later, I sit across from Richard Donovan in his office, the smell of polished wood and leather surrounding me. He's older than I expected, silver, haired with kind eyes that study me carefully. Mrs. Walker, I'm very sorry about your son, he says, his voice carrying genuine empathy. Ethan spoke highly of you and Caleb. I slide the folder of documents across his desk, my hand shaking. My family wants me to sign this over. They said I'm not stable enough to handle it. Richard reads silently, adjusting his glasses. The quiet stretches until my nerves fray. Finally, he looks up. They didn't attend the funeral, correct. I nod. They had Victoria's engagement party instead. His jaw tightens. I remember when Ethan set this up. He was very clear about his intentions. Richard opens a drawer and pulls out a manila folder with Ethan's name. My breath catches as he hands me a notarized letter. In Ethan's handwriting, this trust is to secure Caleb's future, and if the worst happens, to provide for Destiny, who sacrificed everything for him. Tears blur my vision. Even across an ocean, Ethan had thought of me. He had seen what I couldn't admit, that I might one day stand here without Caleb. There's more. Richard continues. He swivels his monitor toward me, showing call logs. Numbers I recognize instantly. My parents' landline, Victoria's cell. They had contacted his office asking about trust provisions months ago, while Caleb was still fighting. They've been planning this. I whisper, my voice trembling with both rage and clarity. Richard nods, but they can't touch the trust. Ethan built it ironclad. Their only tactic is to discredit you. That's why they push the idea you're unstable. Something steadies in me. For the first time in months, I don't feel alone. I have allies, Angela, Ethan's parents, and now Richard. Richard leans forward. My advice, confront them on your terms. A public place. No chance for manipulation behind closed doors. I leave his office with the documents pressed against my chest, my heart beating with new strength. Caleb's memory deserves a protector, and I finally feel ready to be one. The cafe hums with quiet conversation and clinking cups when I walk in. My heart hammers, but I keep my chin high. Richard's advice echoes in my mind, a public place. Make them show themselves for what they are. I choose a table by the window. Within minutes, my parents arrive, followed by Victoria and Melissa. They glide in as though this is another business meeting, not a reckoning. My father doesn't even remove his coat before speaking. Destiny, he says curtly, we don't have all day. Do you have the signed papers? I slide Ethan's notarized letter across the table. No, what I have is proof. Ethan built the trust for Caleb, and for me. His wishes are legally binding. Victoria snatches the paper, scanning it with narrowed eyes. This doesn't change the fact you're unstable. Look at you sleep. Deprived, emotional. You can't handle this responsibility. My voice shakes, but it's strong enough to carry. You weren't there for Caleb, not when he was in the hospital, not when he took his last breath, but I was. I sold everything, worked nights, begged for help, and you call me unfit. A couple at the next table glance over. My father's jaw tightens. He hates public scrutiny. Melissa finally speaks, her voice low. Destiny, we just don't want you to waste it all. I meet her eyes. No, Melissa, you don't want me to have it at all. The silence after those words feels sharp. My mother fidgets with her scarf, refusing to meet my gaze. Richard's voice comes from behind me, calm but firm. He had offered to sit nearby just in case. Now he steps forward. For the record, Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, any attempt to coerce Destiny into signing away her rights could constitute undue influence, and in a public setting like this. He gestures subtly at the curious patrons watching. There are plenty of witnesses. My father's face flushes. Victoria slams the letter back onto the table. This isn't over. But I know it is, not because they suddenly care, but because the performance has been pierced. Their power lies in secrecy, and I've dragged them into the light. They leave without another word, their heels clicking against the tile like gavel strikes. I sit back, trembling with both relief and exhaustion. Richard rests a reassuring hand on my shoulder before quietly departing. Alone again, I press my palm against the letter. I feel Caleb with me, not in the cafe, but in the steadiness of my resolve, in the warmth that fills the cracks grief carved in my chest. For the first time since his burial, I breathe without guilt. The moral is clear, though hard. Earned. Family is not defined by blood, but by presence, by love, by the courage to stand beside you in the storm. My parents chose wealth and appearances. I choose Caleb's memory, my truth, and the people who actually cared. And though the road ahead is uncertain, I know one thing for sure. I am no longer afraid to walk it alone.